And we're back. Michael Hurley had to step out, but we are being joined today by Steve Simoni. Steve, why don't you introduce yourself to these people? Tell them why they might recognize your name.
Thanks, Damon. Yeah. My name's Steve Simoni. I've been playing Thrones for a long time, since 2012. I had a good year in 2013, happened to get a card design, and then I had 2013 in the Worlds Finals. I lost to a great player named Alvaro.
Nice. So what was the card? What was the card that you ended up getting designed for your championship?
Yeah, no, I ended up, I made a card called the Withering Cold. It's a 5/5/1, prize 3. A lot of prize on it, so it's a little tough to play in a tournament, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm always a big fan of interesting cards for your championship. I know a lot of people really like to go for that. I want the most powerful card that everybody's going to play. I'm always like, go for the interesting thing. Go for the thing that, like, it takes a master to really be able to lay down and just smoke people with it.
Yeah, I saw a couple people playing the Withering Cold today, but I don't know if they made the cut. Yeah.
And it looks like we are going ahead and get started. So we have once again joining us Seth Lowe, and he is playing a.
Seth has the Stark House of Dreams Harrenhal, and he's running Restricted Narrow Escape. And looks like we got over here with Jacob. What does he got?
We have Jacob Hultman from Stockholm, Sweden, and he is running Greyjoy, Dark Wings, Dark Words.
Yeah, I'm looking at these deck lists here, and I'm seeing kind of an interesting matchup we're going to have. Seth has some answers here. He's got a Brienne for the saves. He has to draw it, obviously. And then on this other side, we got this Corey Faraday agenda with a bunch of random events. So we'll see what kind of events he lays down in this game.
Yeah, the last game that he was playing in, it was well fought out. Lannister had a fair amount of control on the table, and he was just able to constantly push forward with his challenges.
Looks like here's the setups just came out. It looks like Card in Shadows, Bolton, Carrion Bird. Decent setup, no resources though. Going to be a little rough against a 5 gold, 3 resource setup. Or no, 2 resource and a mines, I think.
And yes.
Yep. Oh man, look at those aggro plots. It's got that big 1/8/2. He's going to try to lay down a little bit later.
Yeah. We've got Euron's Enforcers out on the table also.
I wonder what that Card in Shadows is. If it's a Varys, that's not too good against Greyjoy. Hopefully, for Seth's sake, it's a Syrio.
Oh, that could certainly be helpful.
Let's see. Standard opener. Standard opener for both decks. I know Jacob likes to open King and Mountain Vale. Start getting his card advantage going a turn late.
Yes.
And Seth's going to start up the
Lewin chain.
Yeah, the big Lewin chain. So the mythology of this deck is to put out the Lewin and try to draw into a bunch of no quarters and narrow escapes.
Yeah. He was definitely rocking the no escapes in an earlier game.
Yeah.
I could feel the frustration rolling off of his opponent.
It's going to be interesting.
Okay, we have Master Lumen duped already. And he's got Brienne and Old Man in hand.
It's interesting when I play against these Dark Wings decks, especially Greyjoy, I got that narrow C there I'm looking at. That's got 1 influence. I'm always like, I wonder if he has that 1 seasick. I want to keep this influence around, but it's just my paranoia as a player.
Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you.
I think I heard in the last game, Jacob had a really good seasick on a big wheels.
Yes.
Man, that's brutal.
Right off the top, first play of the game. The worst part is Ryan ended up drawing into his C immediately after.
Brutal.
Just 1 card down.
All right, so what do you think Seth is pondering here?
But at this particular point, I think he's probably trying to figure out what is going to be coming out against him. Make sure he gets his answers out as soon as possible, but not at a point where it's going to cause him to be overextended.
Yeah, he's got the Brienne. That's going to be good for him.
Yeah, that's certainly going to help tons.
Xerons are big body. Yeah, I'm thinking it's kind of interesting when you see the dissension.
Yeah, right away.
There we go. Draw a card. Oh, I see here Jacob likes to put those little Swedish buttons next to his house card to keep track of his card count there.
I like it. You don't ever have to wonder. But maybe that's just the Netrunner player in me.
Oh no, I've never. Is that how they do it in Netrunner?
Oh, well, Netrunner, you have
etiquette?
very specific actions, and each one costs a click, and so those are marked with a tracker.
Oh, okay.
So when you draw, you
Boom.
place a token, or flip a token, depending on your style.
Oh, got an ambitious oarsman. Not a great card, but probably to help his curve. 75 card decks. You got to throw in a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Wama on the chat here. Looks like seasick. Wama, I couldn't actually tell. I'll check it out when the camera breaks back to his hand. Oh, paper shield. We got paper shield.
Ambitious Orman Niels. Rest us another reducer and 1 gold. And we have an ambitious oarsman. Sorry, we have an enraged coming up.
Yeah, it's interesting. He's pondering whether he wants to put out that intrigue icon. I think. I'm sure his deck probably lacks intrigue, just based on the icon spread. Looking at this deck list here. But he generally in the games I've seen him play today, he's really just rushing ahead, and he's not really hitting the hands with intrigue too much.
Yeah, in the games that I've seen him play, it was more opportunistic use, mostly having them there to dissuade or push back against incoming.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting here because you'll see Seth keeps grabbing the cards and reading them, which is pretty funny because he probably doesn't see a lot of these cards being played very often, especially in these 70. I mean, some of these cards, at least I've tested with Seth before, and we don't see a lot of these cards.
The players doing a little bit of table talk, trying to figure out their priorities being passed.
I am done.
All right, we have a clear declaration.
It's got a big board over there on the Greyjoy side.
Seth's got to be thinking about whether or not he wants to bring that card out of shadows now, or
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I didn't see it on the setup, but one thing that you got to know in these Greyjoy matchups, the real key to this whole thing, if the Stark deck is going to win this matchup, is this game's going to have to go very long. The whole key to beating Greyjoy is just to not Valar. And if Seth can just drag it out, let the cities start doing work, kneel, repeat the kneel, play the beautiful game, and just not Valar for a long time, eventually he's going to get him. But we'll see if that actually happens, if he can even make it to that long game. One thing that's pretty interesting, though, is Jacob didn't draw his Thunderer or his Iron Victory, so it's kind of interesting to see what will happen here. He only has 4 of those cards in the deck, and I've been seeing him all day have them pretty much on setup, so I don't know. I mean, definitely he'll have a chance here. I don't know. So it looks like he went Lewin and grabbed a no quarter off the Lewin trigger.
should be interesting to see how that's gonna
He can't push a mill through though. I don't think.
I don't think he's got the strength for it. 4 with stealth versus, what was that, 7, 8 military power on the board.
Yeah, you can stealth the enforcers, go for 4, but it's probably not going to get it done. He's looking at his plot deck. He's thinking, how can I drag this game out as long as possible? Man, that Brienne's going to be good. That's, Seth had a weaker setup, but drawing back up into Brienne is...
That's
I'll
gold.
say it's a little bit lucky, and there's only 1 in the deck, but, he'll probably make that Brienne work a little bit for him this game.
Yeah, it sounded like he just passed the challenges over to Jake. Opting for
Yep.
defensive capability.
Coming intrigue. He's going to get that no quarter.
Well, if Jake's lucky.
He wants it.
Nope.
Mance. I don't know about that alt art Mance. I'm a traditionalist. I like the normal art.
Oh, nice. You run Hultman. Oh, it's counter all the wildling. Yeah.
Man, this is going to be...
Good choice.
I think Seth's plan here is to pretty much oppose this mill. I don't know if he can't oppose the power, depending on how Yarns and Fortress comes in. But again, he's trying to extend this game. We could be in for a long one here, Damon.
Well, if one of them has to go long, the final is between 2 very excellent players and 2 very strong decks is always the place to be.
Yeah. Man, being at these finals tables, it's a pretty nerve-wracking thing. Mistakes it's on a knife's edge. Definitely on a knife's edge. 1 mistake away from scooping those cards up.
Yeah, I've definitely seen people make a mistake, or at least perceive themselves having made a mistake when it was just, there were no good choices, and that itself just, caused them to go on tilt, and just, it just created more mistakes, which created more mistakes.
Yeah, we got a bunch of chatter in the chat about the Mance. I want to give a little bit of insight to the listeners about that Mance. It's a very Corey Faraday style choice for the deck. We want to be able to use Gene to pull an intrigue icon to smooth out our intrigue icon base, is what we did for that deck. So just pulling the king with Gene it's a very high floor, low ceiling type play. I mean, the card doesn't do too much. Just a Tricon. The text never really comes into play in these tournaments, but pulling that intrigue icon is valuable sometimes.
Sure, right. Much like Greyjoy, Stark does not have a lot of intrigue.
It's like we got he lost the mill. He triggered the Harrenhal. Yeah, it'll be interesting what plot's coming down next. Right now, both players are thinking, Jacob's probably thinking, I've got a big board, I'm ahead, I'm going to try to take this guy down. And Seth's probably thinking,
what can I do to stall this out?
Yeah.
Good. Moving down to power. Oh. Can I oppose it? Doesn't even do anything. Unoppose.
Yep, he's out to 5 power.
Jake's at 5. Seth is still at 1.
He's got the rush on.
Actually, no. Seth is at 0 now.
I wonder if Seth's gonna Valar here.
I can understand it with a dupe of Lewin out, be able to keep that out. Losing Brienne against Greyjoy is always painful.
Only attack. Only attack.
Valar, I mean, he's got a save. He's got 2 cards in hand and no draw. And those 2 cards are... Well, the parting blow will do work on Valar. Actually, it'll kneel that Lewin.
There's a paper shield there.
The paper shield is
For,
probably
Some
mostly
later
gonna
play.
be a dead card if Brienne's on the board, but if the Valar comes, obviously not. He does choose to Valar. Interesting.
So I have to be first. I'll try and save Lewin. Yep.
So he goes for the Valar.
Save Brienne. Sorry.
Obviously,
Makes a lot of sense. I understand why.
avoiding Valar is something that he just didn't have the luxury of doing. Normally in Greyjoy matches you want to do that, but in this case with only one save on the board, he's going for it. And it's just a matter of how many characters is he going to draw up into.
King's Mountain Vale. Passive first. Yes. Yep.
Here comes the big discard. Did you do that castle pot mechanic? Is that you?
Yeah.
Interesting. I feel like some of those were a little underpowered. What do you think?
It was really hard to figure out where to place them power-wise precisely. Originally, a fair amount of them were a little bit stronger, and the playtesters really decided that that was a little problematic for them. I think mostly it was
Interesting.
just because it was such a different mechanic than that we were used to. Getting hit with a revealed plot effect plus a past plot effect, doubling up in that fashion when you went back and forth between them, seemed to be a little disheartening to some of the players.
Big parting blow there.
I don't know what Seth's got in his hand to put out character-wise, but
Not quite sure. Not quite sure. This could be pretty rough for Seth here. Jacob's got, I'm sure he's probably drawn some good stuff. He's got a solid deck list here, and he's got the negotiation, so he'll be able to dump and reload. Seth's going to be
we've got some
dumping.
good cards.
Seth's going to be dumping a lot of cards onto the table as well. Well, not a lot. Two.
With 2 gold
He's
and
gonna
1
get.
reducer.
He's gonna
I'm not sure
jump.
about that. Oh, he does have Syria.
He's going to
So
Syrio.
it's nice.
He plans on maybe playing Boros. He's gonna probably put a refugee and a Condon. He's thinking.
You're counting 2 gold? Yeah. Right. No problem.
A lot of times these players are
Might as well.
thinking to the next plot, thinking what's going to happen. Having to Valar that early against Greyjoy is never a good thing, though.
The question is, what does Jake have in his hand that he might be able to put out this early to recover from that?
I wonder if he drew back up into characters. Did we cut to I might have missed that camera shot.
We might get a chance to see it again if he ends up displaying his hand.
Cracks the seed, drops the Condon. Reduce.
There's the refugee.
And then
2 gold left.
that dude's going to do the work this turn. Going to get that unopposed. Oh, I see a bunch of characters. Oh, that's going to be rough on Seth.
Bunch of characters, and I think I just saw another save.
Shadows. Right. Past you.
It'll be interesting to see here. You got that Riverlands Hunter, I think it's called, the monocon that, don't count your power, or only other monocons can count their strength.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to pull out Boros to trigger the big Serio pump to 3, so it'll be a 3 strength to a 2 strength guy. He'll be able to block the mill, unless he just goes mill with the Balon and the Enforcers instead.
There are copies of events in my Discord. Got it?
The reader hit the table.
Yeah, he's got the Balons and the Eurons.
Oh, yes, yeah, you're correct.
He's contemplating the Shadows play right now. I think he'll probably bring out the Boros here. It's almost got to do it.
No shadow. And no challenges, sir. Go ahead.
He did not bring out the Boros, so he's stalling. He's gonna save it for the next turn with. He's gonna try to come out big with the claim.
Military.
This one's gonna be a.
Actions before stealth.
It's looking 75, 80% in Greyjoy favor right now,
I see. Yeah, I got you. Go ahead.
but there is a chance to pull it back.
I will close here. Yep. Claim. Yep. Dead. Trigger response. Yep. Goes around top. Yep.
Claiming the refugee, claiming Condon, pretty standard here. Here comes the unopposed power.
Nothing forward. You got it.
And
Dominance.
And Jake moves up to 7 power.
it's actually, all things considered, a very good round for Seth.
Yeah, he did a pretty good job of holding back Jake. Jake could have very easily ended up with, well, a good 4 or 5 power out of that.
Yeah,
out
I
of
mean,
that turn.
I actually think that Jacob made a little bit of a play error there and should have probably just gone mill with the Enforcers, got the unopposed, and then go power with Balon, get the stealth unopposed. He'd be at 8 right now. So let's see if that power ends up costing him in the long game when these get going.
Yeah, generally speaking, a deck like this, like Seth is playing, I would definitely want to reduce my opponent's board presence as much as possible, particularly with Valar already out of the way. You know that he's not going to have that opportunity to knock you back
Seth,
or being
yeah.
overly
Yeah.
extended compared to his meager board.
Absolutely. Seth's actually looking at his hand right now, and he's probably thinking, oh man, I really want to gray win that Lucas. I really want to gray win that Lucas and get him. Then marshalling, get him with a mill challenge. I don't know if he has the gold to support it though. What do you think's coming out here for Jacob? You feel like he's just gonna go 1-8-2 and go for it? I'm actually not quite sure.
At 7 power? I don't know. I probably wouldn't. I'd probably hold off on one more turn. He's
Yeah.
got a couple of other
Yeah, he's got other
pretty
plays.
strong options that he can go for.
I don't know what is under the cards that command count. I know he's playing Rally Cry. He probably wants to Rally Cry that Harrenhal right off the table.
That would be living the dream. Anytime you can get rid of the House of Dreams card. Particularly with as much heavy lifting as Harrenhal is doing in Seth's deck.
Yeah, I mean that's the work for that's the card advantage there. I'm thinking Jacob's probably saying Seth is gonna kneel me.
It's pretty good guess.
The other thing Seth might do is Time for Wolves for Ghost. It's a stealth.
Yeah,
It's a
I see
stealth.
that.
It's 3 strength and it's monocon. When you pump him with Boros, he'll be able to he'll defend. He might Time for Wolves for Ghost here.
Yeah, that ability to put it directly into play is very nice, particularly in a Stark deck.
Yeah, and he's
Like
probably
this.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Sorry for the wait.
He's contemplating here.
Yeah, I think Seth realizes that this is a really important turn for him, and that if he can't hold Jake down,
He does the
Time
Time
for
for
Wolves.
Wolves, and
Good call.
he does it into the negotiations for the initiative. So he's gonna go get Ghost first, probably. We'll see. I'm not sure. Who do you think wants to go first here?
You know what? Honestly, I don't know. I mean, if I was Jake, not knowing what Seth had, I would probably want to go first as an aggressive Greyjoy deck, force him to get locked down as much as possible,
Yeah.
keep him constantly having to respond and never ever being able to really enforce his own will. You're usually in a pretty good spot against a relatively aggressively minded house. But
Yeah, absolutely.
this deck is not just any deck, so it's not just straight up military aggro.
No, this
So
is
it's not necessarily the best choice.
this deck's meant to go the long game here.
See, he's got the carrion bird and old Nan also. So, and Mad Huntsman. Shenanigans are about to happen.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's hoping to get lucky here and top deck a Dissension to Nan Dissension someone off the table.
Oh yeah.
So interesting here is that Jacob's contemplating about the Bluebird right now with the Time for Wolves. I'll just let the listeners out there know that Bluebird is not in the deck.
I'll trigger. Yeah.
Looks like some energy's going out there on the floor. What's going on out there?
Some people are definitely having a good time.
Yeah. A couple beers going around for everyone.
So 5.
Seth surprisingly shuffled in there. Oh, nice little hand there for Jacob. Getting that Victorian.
That will be a nice play. I'm really curious to see exactly what Seth is going to go with. This guy's fine. 2 carrying birds.
Looks like he's probably going to go Ghost here.
I mean, I'm really not sure what else he would go for. I mean, what, Shaggy Dog?
I don't know. I'm still.
Or I'm sorry, Nymeria was precisely the one that I was just thinking of.
Yeah, I mean, he had a really good hand and he shuffled it in.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised by that.
Yeah, I kind of think that was a player on Seth's part, but I can't really question him a lot.
It is
He's
Nymeria.
been playing pretty good this year. I don't know. I've been missing a lot of things that he's been seeing. We'll see. We'll see what it comes down to.
And ready for draw? Yes. Oh, do you have shadows in March? I do not. Looks like he's coming out here with Victarion and some resources.
Oh, got
river.
herself a nice little boat.
River blockade. Get that choked. Plundered him.
That's not going to be fun.
Man, yeah, at this point here, Seth is in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, I would go so far as to say is that Seth's in a bad way right now. This round is not looking good for him, and this is a really important one to keep him from
Yep.
falling on the next turn.
That plunder, though, I love that card. See if Seth can kind of bring this back here, but it's a pretty good negotiations for Jacob drawn back into that Thunderer. He needs to play that Asha, get his rush on. I see in the chat here, people talking about Plunder. I think Plunder's a great card in Melee. It's what we used in the Gen Con Melee, actually. It's like the
All right, sweet.
idea. No problem. All right, he plays the Asha.
Well, he does have the heroine of the series in Sansa Stark in his hand. I'm sure that will solve all of his woes.
Yeah, I think at this point he's saying, what can I go get with Sansa to save me?
How many cards do you have? 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 14. 2 over me. How many do you have in hand? You're 1 over me.
Counting the cards here. This mechanic sometimes is tedious. But I actually really like it on cards like I like Shadow Killer. Comes in and crunches on fools. Yeah, Seth is pretty tense here. I don't know if he has many outs. What is he going to search the deck for?
Yeah, he's got to realize that he's potentially 2 turns away from a game loss.
Yeah, and it's never a good sign when you're playing Sansa and you don't know what you're going to get. He's contemplating between a free Hungry Mob and a free Street of Sisters, probably, or some sort of resource.
Yeah,
Maybe.
some people would get some of those things into play.
He's thinking. I don't think Grey Wind's going to do it for him. Can't afford the Rob Stark.
He's thinking long and hard about.
He's probably wishing he had that old Nan right now. If he had that old Nan right now, he could go grab Dissension, but he shuffled that back in. He might be thinking about the heart tree for, so he can
there
use
it
it
is.
to eat the river blockade, and then you can use Harrenhal later. Yep,
Yep, there we go.
there he goes, and he does it. So 3 gold. What do you think?
Sorry,
He forgot to shuffle. Pro tip, shuffle your deck after you search. All right, he's got some stealth military out there.
So he's bringing out the Boros.
I guess shadows here. Yep.
Here comes the big Boros pump.
And he's hesitating.
Yeah, he's actually playing a pretty smart game here. He got the Nymeria on the Lewin so that he could pump him with Boros, make him a 4 strength. He's able to block the Deadly Power challenge from the Enforcers. Pretty smart play by Seth. Don't know if it'll be enough, though. It's pretty fortuitous, though. Pretty thinking ahead.
Jake is doing some mental gymnastics, making sure he's calculating all of the changes that have happened to board shit in the last 5 minutes.
Absolutely.
Jake definitely knows that he is potentially just 2 rounds away from being the 2015 and final Game of Thrones Joust champion.
Absolutely, and he's thinking right now, I want to just do pretty well this round, and then I want to play the 1-8-2 and get him. Yes, down a hill.
And someone just jumped in. Oh, Victor.
He's going for that big 3 claim. He's aggroing him around here. Seth's going to keep the icons, as many icon density as he can on the table. He's going to trigger Harrenhal and then try to drop in Narrow Escape here. Well, looks like he missed his Harrenhal trigger. Or he's saving it for something. I think Jacob just quickly ditched his hand.
You know, there was no thought about that after wiping out 3 of his characters.
Yep, it's like Seth missed that Harrenhal there.
Strong block.
He misses on Lewin. Probably regretting that Herrenhalt trigger now.
Yeah.
Boros here for the stealth power. He's thinking, should I go power here? Seth is. And I'm thinking he should not.
Yeah.
He does it.
He does it.
He's speeding up the game.
Yeah, I would definitely allow that one to.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I. Seth's choice there was to not do power and keep power off his house a little longer. He's speeding up the game now, which doesn't seem right.
Jake at 9, Seth at 2. We'll see how much longer that power stays there. Seth has got to get some stronger characters or some potent effects to keep this tide from rolling right over.
Here comes the 182. He's going for it.
Yep.
Interesting.
Oh, does he only have one in his?
Yep. He had one kneel.
I had assumed that he had 2, and he's going to get Asha in that as well. This is really not looking good. For Seth's sake, he's going to need a really good top deck.
Not many outs here for Seth. He's pretty far behind. That trigger last turn.
Yeah, missing that was
really hurt him.
Was brutal. There's no narrow escapes that can be played. I think that no quarter is still available to him.
That Shaggy Dog might be pretty good. We'll see if it can do any work. Well, it's going to do less work now after the big cold hands. This is a nice draw there by Jacob. Jacob's deck's solid. It's been performing very well all day. He's in command here. I watched a few of his matches earlier, and he's been really taking it to the opponents today.
Yep.
He's
there we
scooping,
go.
and there it is.
We have a
we have our 2015 champion here. Last champion ever?
I'm sorry. Yeah, last champion for Joust. We still have the melee coming up tomorrow or Saturday.
It's a good way to send off the game. It's a beautiful game. Game of Thrones 1.0. I loved it. We're really looking forward to 2.0.
Well, on behalf of all of the designers and developers, for our graphic artists and our entire art team and everyone else, I'd like to say thank you. And actually, we have our first champion from Sweden, so that's exciting.
It's amazing. Yeah, the Europeans really do a great job playing this game. They have what it takes. They perform really well at these Worlds every single year, and Seth just didn't have it today.
Well, that happens sometimes. He actually started off looking pretty good, and then Jake just started getting the right cards at the right time and made just a few less mistakes, anticipated his opponent just a little bit more.
Yeah, it was actually a really good game. I don't know if Seth really could have pulled it out there, but there are some things that could have been done differently. I think that both players had a decent shot. Jacob definitely had the plus there, definitely had the bigger setup, and he just took it with the. He just couldn't. There's no way to stop that.
Yeah, I mean, Seth was, a great player. He managed to, hold out for a fair bit, and then you recognize that, that opportunity, that window had just narrowed so small that, if he didn't draw into what he needed, there was very, very little chance.
It's just one of those things, absolutely. And when you're playing against Greyjoy, like I said earlier in the game here, if you're Valoring turn 2, you're probably not winning.
Yeah,
it's just not happening.
it's really hard. They can put forward so much strength in military and in power. There's so much stealth and intimidate and just general shenanigans that allow them to grab extra power so quickly.
Yeah. In these card tournaments, they're so grueling, and I mean, playing all day, getting to the final table and losing is a tough thing. It's a really tough thing.
It definitely is.
He's smiling right now, Seth is, but he's definitely feeling it.
Well, he should feel good. He should feel proud for how far he went. Good deck, well piloted. I saw him roll over a couple of other players, so he's got nothing but a right to hold his head high for that.
Yeah, and his second final table loss in 2 days now. Draft yesterday, Worlds, Joust today.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he'll do a third finals table loss in Melee tomorrow.
or a final table win.
Or maybe a little bit of redemption for him. We'll see. But I really actually, Jacob brought something different than everyone else today. I want to give massive props to Jacob. He brought this Greyjoy Dark Wings. Not a deck that was played in the United States very much. He brought it over from Europe across the pond. Took it to the Americans. Really good props to Jacob out there.
Well, it was really interesting seeing so many of the, what in my mind was very clearly the perceived favorite, which was Lanny, AAA. It was just all over the place in the top 16, and final table, Stark and Greyjoy.
Yeah, and again, just all credit to Greyjoy. Actually, really good. I didn't think the deck had enough card advantage, but with the Dark Wings and with the Thunderer and with the negotiations and the Iron Victory, it had enough card advantage to win all day.
Yeah.
And he really took it to everyone.
Yeah. Well, Steve, thank you very much. I had a great time
it was great.
commentating with you. It was pretty awesome. I don't think we're going to get a chance to do that again for this particular game, but who knows? Maybe a second edition will get a chance to hold up and have a reunion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hi, here we are with Seth Lowe, the runner-up in the final Game of Thrones Joust Championship event. Seth was the #1 seed going into Swiss, had a lot of very convincing victories over the day. So Seth, why don't you tell us a little bit about your deck? It was very impressive watching you play today, and just tell us what went into constructing it.
Sure. So the deck was House of Dreams Harrenhal. It's a Stark deck. In our testing, we were preparing for a long time trying to solve the meta. It was a different meta with Harrenhal, the neutral Harrenhal being restricted. And we found that Time for Wolves made Stark really flexible and effective, because if you get ahead and they have to Valar, you can pull Nymeria from your plot deck, put it on your best character, and get the save. Alternatively, you can get Grey Wind or get Shaggy Dog. So we tried to build a card advantage package around those dire wolves and the plot, and so we ended up with Harrenhal.
Nice. It sounds like it was a well thought out deck, and you obviously tested it to a really good result. Are there any games during the day that stick out in your mind as being particularly your favorite game that you played, or your best play that you made during the tournament?
I think my favorite game was probably beating Ryan Jones, who beat me yesterday in the draft final, but he actually, it's not like I played better than him or anything, and we just got into a top decking situation. I won, but that was satisfying. The best play I made was earlier in the Swiss against a Martel No Agenda player, where I played a plot. I was allowed to go first, and I played Lucas Blackwood and then Grey Wind on a character, and then I Grey Wind my own Lucas to initiate a military challenge and brought Brienne. He had a duped Viper, and so he had to claim his duped Viper. He couldn't use a save. So that was a satisfying play.
Nice. So the final game, it looked like your deck kind of sputtered out a little bit, and your opponent's deck went off. Is there anything, thinking back on the game, that you wish you could have done differently?
I think the big missed triggers. I mean, in the last phase, missed the Heron Hall, didn't use Nymeria, but by that point it was probably too late. I think he said he had paper shield, so I didn't realize that. That would have really owned me. But I was trying to save a no core and have a play on my own Valar turn. What I would have done differently, I'm not sure. I have to think through. I think by the time I pulled Sansa, it was too late. I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah, sometimes the cards just don't fall the right way. But congratulations on a very good day, and it was impressive watching you.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Nate.
And now we have Jacob Hultman, who is the champion of this year's Game of Thrones First Edition Joust. Jacob, first we have Zach here to present you with your trophies.
Jacob, I'm Zach Rayburn, head of organized play here at Fantasy Flight. On behalf of Fantasy Flight Games and the organized play department, we want to present you and congratulate you as the 2015 world champion of a Game of Thrones, the card game Joust. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right, Jacob. So you had a very original-looking Dark Wings, Dark Words, Greyjoy deck. It was a kind of a unique deck in the field, and it was really a pleasure watching you play. Can you tell us a little bit about your deck and what you did to prepare it and what went into it, what it was all about?
Yeah, it's kind of a really interesting story because the weeks leading up to Worlds, me and my fellow Swede Andreas, we really tried to find a good deck. I tried several decks, and we ended up playtesting against a guy in our meta in Stockholm called Björn Jorner, and he played a Greyjoy Darkwings Darkwords deck that just didn't. It was unbeatable. It won 15 games in a row, and we were like, why does it do that? We had no idea. So I basically ended up building the deck with him. He built pretty much 90% of the deck, and we did some tweaks, some plot tweaks, and some final tweaks in the deck, but all the credit goes to Björn in Stockholm for this really original deck, because it's basically it's a Greyjoy deck with Raider theme, a very classic Raider theme, and it's got some high claims, but it's got draw and the surprise of the event. So we all know that Greyjoy with draw is very, very, very good. So yeah.
Well, congratulations again on winning, and the things really went your way in the final match. Are there any games during the day that kind of jumped out at you as being particularly challenging or problematic? Where did you struggle the most today?
Yeah, the deck is a 76 card deck, and having that said, it has some decent setups, and 3 and 4 cards. Not more than that. And I played a game against Dan Seafield in the Swiss, where he absolutely crushed me. I had a very, very bad setup. He played the same deck as Seth did, and he had a very, very good start, and he crushed me. And then I played him in the top 8 again. He had a bad setup. I had a wonderful setup. And it's fun how the deck can really turn around. So that first turn I had, out of the 76 cards, I managed to get a Assault of the Kraken and Assault and Iron first turn. So I managed to wipe his board with that. So that was fun.
So one final question. Part of your prize, you get to design a card for Game of Thrones 2nd Edition. So I guess the first question is, are you going to play in the 2nd Edition events later this weekend? And have you thought at all about what you want to design?
Yes to the first question, no to the second question. I already have a card design on the going for the European Melee Championship last year, but we'll see if we can do something that goes well together with that. Maybe.
All right, sounds good. We will be in touch about your cards, and good luck in the upcoming events for the rest of the weekend. Congrats again.